Typically every year, riders come from around the country for the Kentucky Derby, but tonight, instead of one horse for each driver, we have 650. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Finney Kuna here with Connor Horn, and we present to you the Indy Elite Series here from Kentucky Speedway. Connor, glad to have you in the booth once again.
Glad to be alongside you once again. It's going to be a fun one. Indy Elite Series, always a blast to watch these things rip around any oval or road course, especially bumpy Kentucky. I love this track for Indy cars. I think it's going to be very racy tonight.
Absolutely. Getting down to the track, a little bit of a warm-up period, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, warm-up period for a few more minutes here.
Yeah, and got ourselves here some great action for you tonight. Again, the Kentucky 250. Presented by Sim TV. Glad to be back in the booth with you, Connor. I think last time I had you was Auto Club Speedway for the finale last season, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, I believe that is true. It's definitely the last oval we've been on. A lot of drama on that one with a championship battle coming down to the wire, but also sort of over in the first few laps. Very interesting race. Glad to be back with you for another oval with Indy cars. A very different oval, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And presented from here, Sparta, Kentucky, has a population of about 277 people. Actually, didn't realize it was that small. Constructed back in 2000. And as of note, too, the Speedway at the moment, well, actually, we're looking at the older version of the Speedway. This is the legacy version of Kentucky, not the newer one that was reconfigured with the new turns 1 and 2, where they reduced the banking and expanded the amount of racing room. They expanded the inner line, if I'm not mistaken, to give you some more room to work with. We're on the older version where these guys have more banking to work with, and I'm sure they're going to be happy with that. Just another tool in the toolbox, really using that banking to their advantage.
Yeah, I think they love banking for these Indy cars. It was sort of drove maybe similar to Texas, Kentucky 3 and 4 and Texas 1 and 2, very similar in my opinion as far as the updated layouts for those tracks. And we see a lot of chaos in Texas turns 1 and 2, and also at least on the NASCAR side, because IndyCar in real life has never gone to Kentucky on the new surface. A lot of chaos in NASCAR's happened in those sets of corners. So I think these drivers will appreciate being able to go sort of close to wide open and not have to really breathe it because of how flat of a corner it would have been.
Yeah, and again, as we come to Kentucky, all eyes going to be set on the driver of the number 91. That's Robert Milewski, who we're currently looking at. He's been a fast cookie all season long and currently the top of warm-ups. Got to check qualifying in a second because we're still trying to get ourselves set up as qualifying was going on. Connor, if you actually can give an update on where Milewski is starting?
No surprise here, he's on the pole. He put down a 24.087, which was about 500ths faster than Andrew Wood in P2. So he's going for another oval victory this season already. 2 out of the 3 ovals won by Milewski. He started back-to-back to start the season. Top 3 in all the ovals so far.
And also taking a look at looking at Andreas Eichen, the number 76, a man who has been trying to chase down the likes of Milewski, but has come up short on a few occasions. We saw last week at Mid-Ohio, 5 different drivers had the chance of winning that race, and 4 of them all ran into some sort of trouble on their own. The man who ended up winning that race is Jacob Oster, who's currently not on the track, otherwise I would show his race car. Actually, was looking like he might not have been able to make the race tonight, but glad that he's able to join and defend his victory.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see what he can do. He did not have the best of qualifying efforts, though. Only P14, so he's going to have a lot of work to do through these corners to get through the traffic and, dodge chaos early. A lot of good drivers, really fast drivers starting down the order. Evan Adams is right there in 15th. David Adams, Matt Holliba, Chris Stouffer. A lot of drivers need to make up some ground early.
Yeah, absolutely. And qualifying here coming to an end, and we're getting ready to shift our attention over to the gridding for this evening's race. Just about 25 cars going to be on tap for this series. A perfect amount of cars. I think any more will probably be maybe a little bit too crowded around here. And we see some fantastic racing at Kentucky in the past. We've seen some side-by-side battles, guys drag racing to the line. So I have high hopes for this race. I guess is the best way to put it. High hopes for the race that we're going to be in for a very awesome event. 150 laps on tap for tonight as we get down to gridding here. And in real life, it is a bit unfortunate because the state of this track is currently unknown. Its future is a little bit unknown. Still unsure if we're going to ever actually see racing back. Have they ever said anything about that?
There's not much happening at Kentucky at the current moment. I can't say that, which is a little bit unfortunate. They had a really good finishes to the NASCAR races the 2 previous seasons before they got kicked off the schedule for 2021. But the races kind of got lackluster, and IndyCar never really had a shot at the new surface. They were really exciting on the old surface, the bumpy track. I think it was Ed Carpenter or maybe Dario Franchitti. I might be wrong on that, but I know Ed Carpenter barely edged someone out to the line to win one of these races. One of the last races they went to Kentucky. Never got a shot on the new pavement. They might never get a shot on the new pavement, but we get to see him on the old pavement at least for one time tonight.
Indeed, we'll go through your starting lineup here. Robert Mlech going to be starting on pole, as you mentioned. Andrew Wood in second. Alex Newsom going to be lined up in third. Great qualifying effort for her. And then the 31, Tony Schowen in fourth.
And then the next couple of rows, Andreas Ike, P5, second in the points coming in tonight. Chris Cahoe alongside him. And then behind those two, Joe Branch and John Downing with almost identical laps.
Indeed, and John Downing, AJ Musselman going to round out row number 4. Sorry, row number 5. Sorry, Joe Branch and John Downing around out row number 4. AJ Musselman, Christopher line up in behind them, rounding out your top 10, working already through the back straightaway now as we get ready to roll off. What do you think is going to be the biggest concern for these guys in these opening laps?
It might be keeping the tires on the car. This is a very abrasive surface. No one really knows. Well, these drivers do know how they're going to race. We don't know how they're going to race, but this is a track that used to eat up tires whenever you ran it in a cup car. Even in an Indy car, when I ran official racing here, it could eat up the tires. These drivers are going to have to be careful about that.
The pace car going to make the turn onto pit road. Field in control of Robert Mlechkin, the 91, rolling to the start-finish line, and there we go. We are green here at Kentucky. Completing lap number 1, Alexis Newsom wasting absolutely no time. And I'm not sure she actually was able to get it done at the stripe, but is fighting hard for the lead with Robert Mlechka.
We were talking about side-by-side finishes. 2/1000ths of a second separated those two at the line. Mlechka was able to lead that lap. As we got a car in the wall at turn 2, it's Evan Adams who smacked the fence.
So take a look at what happened to Adams here, slow on the track. See if we can get a look at what happened to him.
It was very early into turn number 1 that it started. He kind of rode it, trying to get high, saw it there, trying to avoid the dirty air. And just got too high up, and the wall was right there to greet him.
Yeah, and as we're back on an oval, we're going to be talking about the dirty air all night long. It's going to be your biggest enemy here, especially in the high part of the track, too. When you get close to the wall, it almost seems like it will suck you in if you're not careful enough. But still, Newsom and Mlechka duking out for position. Andrew Wood, Tony Schowen, Andreas Ike, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Evan Adams is going to have to bring it in for the night. Too much suspension damage to bear, and we're already seeing it spread out. When they were here on the old surface, Kentucky, the last time they were here, it was with the old car, which is sort of more related to pack racing at these types of tracks. The packages changed, the times have changed. Not really enough downforce to be able to do that. You see the drivers just spreading out. Little few 2-car packs here and there, but really already spread out. The top 5 separated by about 2 seconds. It's very rare you see the Larson line applied to IndyCar racing. Who knows? I wouldn't put it past him if he got into the Indy 500. You just never know with Kyle Larson, but very interesting seeing that line come into play, especially this early in the race. That shows how much he wants to get into clean air. He does not want to be in the tire tracks of Robert Mlechka or Alexis Newsom.
Yeah, you can see there Schowen battling in behind, diving low, trying to get some clean air to his nose. He can find some way past the number 64 car. Further behind them, Christopher trailing Joe Branch, and also an exchange position between David Adams and AJ Musselman. And David Adams, some notably new colors on that car. Surprised to see him in anything other than a Sadie Simsport livery he's been riding for the past few years here in this series. Got intense racing on the side of that car. Not sure if he's made a change in teams. Curious to see the result of that. Looking, where is John Downing? His teammate, let's see, still rocking the Sadie colors. So not sure what happened there. We saw a split in teams. Maybe from the 00 going into a different venture.
Have to keep note of that sometime later in the race. Just trying to look for any swaps for position. See one for the 16th position almost. Doug South past Brian Carey for the time being. Alexander Ball, Pablo Diaz battling for 19th for the most part. Still getting very spread out at the front. Alexis Newsome, a little bit of a gap to Robert Malechka now. Malechka can't really close in. And same for Andrew Wood, Tony Show, and everyone else just kind of getting their own space here.
Yeah, it is, we still got a lot of laps left to go. 150 on tap, only lap 10, so 15th of the way through the event, so long ways to go. Looking at Jacob Oster working on Stouffer and Joe Branch, a little scrabble back here for 7th place in the midfield. And some passing going on in further behind John Downing and Aaron Roofs. Exchanging some position. Aaron Roofs working on the inside lane. You can see him working the bottom, but washing up the track as soon as he catches that dirty air.
There's nothing you can do about that. The guy in front of you has complete control of what happens to your car, and you're just out there at mercy. They can chop your nose, and you're close to going to the outside wall. You really want them to not give you dirty air, obviously, and then he sort of raced. Downing kind of gave the line to the bottom to Aaron Roofs, but Roofs still couldn't do anything with it. Didn't gain enough time to even attempt to make a pass, and you could see him fall back in that dirty air into the clutches of Brian Carey. Yeah,
Julian Altena and Wayne Hunter fighting for position. You saw Wayne Hunter work his way on past the 71 car. Yeah, for the most part, a lot of guys are kind of finding their own spot in lane, and I wasn't expecting too much of back and forth, especially more in the earlier laps. But up in the front, still very close. Malechka not letting go of the 63.
Yeah, trying his best to stay with that 63 machine right now. Is doing a good job doing it, just taking whatever lane that Alexis Newsome gives him right now and doing a good job. It's sort of a guessing game if you're the leader, if you're Alexis Newsome. You kind of just want to get in his lane, get in their lane, and try to give him as much dirty air as possible. You don't want him getting any closer to you. If you guess their line right, you're going to be in a good spot to pull away.
Yeah, and really as a leader too, you don't want to, the best lane is really just to kind of ride the bottom, take the shortest way around and prevent him from trying to cut you low. Because definitely going to the inside can make a move happen. As you're looking here, David Adams move on Oster as a caution out. Aaron Roofs slow on, I think this out of turn 4 or in turn 1?
Turn 1. All by himself. Doesn't seem like anyone else was involved.
Let's see if we can find out what happened to him here. Oh,
whoa.
Yeah.
That is not the racing line.
Yeah, we got a little bit of preview that happened there. Oh, got loose.
Wow.
Coming. Oh, not even out of really turn 4. He's pretty much on the straightaway at that point. And then slid up the track and put the wheel in the wall. That's definitely going to cost him some time. Really want to ride on board and see what happened here.
That's an odd place to get loose.
I guess it's not too crazy because when you think about it, when you look at the track the way it comes up, a little bit of a hill when you come off the banking, and that's enough to get the car light, especially, remember we talked about this being an open setup series. If you have your car set up loose, and you've also just been, in general, just adjusting the weight jacker and the anti-roll bars, you can set up your car to be pretty loose, and if you go too loose, you get stuff like that happens too. So the 26 going to have to make some lengthy repairs to his machine down in pit lane. Speaking of which, imagine everyone's going to be coming on down except for our leader.
I was kind of on a lonely island there. A few, I guess, teammates or a few, survivors, one way to speak, I guess. Julian Altena and Pablo Diaz stay out with her. But going back to the incident, you saw how pushed up the right front suspension got, so that's going to be tough to repair. And I like the point you made about the banking sort of rising up. That happens. That reminds me a lot of Dover, which is probably the biggest example of that, where the banking sort of goes up and you're almost off the ground. Yep. It's such a big jump up. And it could really throw the car off no matter what car you're running. And you saw that sort of happen to Roofs. He got off the corner turn 4 fine, but you saw that sort of jump, that shot up into the air almost, you saw happen. It just put the car way off balance, and he had no choice but to go joyriding through the infield grass.
So quick early caution after a couple of green flag laps. Alexis Newsome going to remain your leader. Julian Altena and Pablo Diaz in the number 22. Staying out, and it's interesting that Diaz is staying out because winner at Twin Ring Motegi, which is the last oval we're at. So I'm gonna feel pretty confident. This man knows what he's doing. Has been running pretty well at the ovals. At least ran well at Motegi. Also ran well at Michigan. So he's finished in the top 3 at all the ovals this season. So pretty confident in what he is capable of in that number 22 machine. And I guess it's not too worried about how old the tires are. I'm just trying to see where he started. Started all the way back in 21st. Wow.
And Pablo Diaz, Julian Altona, they actually started 20th and 21st respectively. So the real issue with those two is they're going to be in dirty air right away. So their tires might not be too much older. The fall off might not be that terrible, but any dirty air and you're not on the best tires, you're going to go backwards. It's going to be an important restart for Alexis Newsom to try to keep that track position she's got over Robert Malechka, who's going to have much fresher tires.
Malechka currently sitting in 4th place, so not too much traffic up ahead. And again, with a slight tire advantage, may play into his favor. Maybe not so much on Newsom. Newsom has been fresh air pretty much the entirety of the race, so her tires are looking pretty good. Altona and Diaz, and the reason I was curious of where they started, where they were running before the pit sequence, is because if you're in the back of the pack, you're going to be making those tires work a little bit harder, dealing with the dirty air of 10+ cars in front of you. So you're going to make the tires work a little bit more, going to wear them out a little bit more. So it's, again, 15 laps, probably not much, maybe even almost negligible, but definitely at a slight disadvantage compared to Malechka, Wood, Showin in behind. But we'll see when the green flags drop. We should get 1 to green this time through. Also taking a look at the retirements, Craig Forsythe also retired early on, a lap after Evan Adams. Not sure what happened to him. Aaron Riffs somehow able to repair that car and stay on the lead lap. Quite surprised.
Still might need repairs. I mean, you can repair it with an iRacing damage model, but it's not going to drive very fun. It's not going to be a fun drive, and you're going to be down on speed. Trying to look back at where those Julian Altena and Pablo Diaz were. Altena was definitely 16th in position when the yellow came out, and trying to find Pablo Diaz, he was back in 20th. So it's not like they really made up much ground. We saw early in the race, it was hard to gain any passing, unless it was right on the restart, as we saw with Alexis Newsom's pass with a lead on the very first lap into turn 3. So I think track position was in mind for those two, and Alexis Newsom, I don't know if keeping track position was in mind. It might have just been getting caught out at the wrong time.
This is Kentucky 250 with the Indy Elite Series. It's round number 5, if I'm not mistaken. Round number 6, sorry. Round 5 was last week in Mid-Ohio. Round 6 this week, and we're just actually marking the halfway point of the season. The season so quick compared to doing a full season with them last time we were broadcasting this league. Now only half a year, but still as much intensity as we get ready for the green. Alexis already jumping on the gun, not even waiting for me to get started here as we go back green here at Kentucky.
No time to rest here. She's going to get a pretty big jump and a big battle for second. Altena with a little bit of a block on Pablo Diaz there for the second position. Here comes Malechka with the fresh tires.
Yeah, Malechka trying to make them work here. Coming out of turn number 2, drag race down the back straightaway for both these drivers. But Diaz able to get a draft off of Altena and keep that spot for now. Malechka going to have to pull back in line as he complete the first lap after the restart.
You see how much the battle for second heats up. Pablo Diaz wants it, just can't find a way to get around, and is giving Malechka the bottom, which is really the logical place for Malechka to go, as I think that's Dan Ench coming off of pit road late, but no other issues there. The battle for second rages on. Altena keeping everyone at bay here.
Yeah, you can see for Malechka riding on board the nose cam for his car. Just a little bit offset from Altena, is keeping it as close to that yellow line as possible. And here he comes with a massive run on the front straightaway and a big block by Diaz, denying him.
He wanted that top lane bad, but he might be able to work on the bottom. He pretty much almost cleared Pablo Diaz, but obviously no room to come up with Altena there, as Malechka trying to use these tires to get by these guys, but these older tires are holding up better than I thought they would. The dirty air just playing such a big factor, as Malechka's going to get a draft. Pablo Diaz is just going to drop back here, and here comes Andrew Wood to make a pass as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, just lost a lot of momentum, and Wood, as you mentioned, taking advantage of the situation, going to easily slot himself in front of Diaz, so move those two up one spot. Diaz down at 2. Oh, and a big move from Malechka to the inside. Altena almost took him out. He's going to wash up the track just a little bit, though. Altena going to have to do, pretty much has to give him the room, and an aggressive run by Malechka going to put him to the lead.
It's going to put him in a second. Remember, there is a car far out there. You probably didn't see Alexis Newsom because of how far she got out. 1.3-second lead, and that's why you see Malechka using a little bit of aggression there to get by Julian Altena for that second position. Alexis Newsom's almost out of draft range, so Malechka's kind of got to hustle to get back up to her.
Yeah, I wanted to take a quick look at that replay. Just a big dive down into turn 3. Made the move stick.
And now this will be interesting to compare times for these two. Both of these two are pretty much going to be in clean air of how far in front Newsom is out. Last time by, Alexis Newsom was actually a few hundredths faster as the battle for third heats up. Andrew Wood, the next driver on fresh tires, to get by the 71 machine.
Yeah, these guys slowly starting to drop back. Pablo Diaz only back to 8th, so what I thought was maybe a minor disadvantage is actually a pretty big disadvantage. These guys are just getting overtaken by everyone out there. Diaz is trying to pick up the scrap. Same thing with Altena as Tony Schowen now works his way on by. Andreas Ike now the man waiting in the wings, and Ike really needs to start getting some good points finishes because, again, we call Ike Mr. Consistent, but the problem is Malechka's been finishing not only better than him, but more consistently better than him. So he's going to need to start getting better finishes than his championship competitor in the number 91 machine as both these guys go side by side. Altena just trying to hang on to as many spots as possible.
And consistency wins championships for the most part, but when someone's consistently better than you, that's when you kind of need a wake-up call, and you got to do a little bit better. And Ike's obviously been at the top of the series for a while, but just hasn't able to get over that hump and sort of rise to the competition and dominate more races to get himself higher up in these championship races as the 71 of Altena rises up the racetrack almost into the 76 machine there.
Let's take a quick look back at this going into turn number 1 and 2. Get that wash, especially with some older tires. Altena taking the smart decision of backing off. Just looking further back, I continue to see a red and green blip on my timing and scoring as it's Diaz constantly falling down the field. Nothing can do here because Brian Carey working to the inside. Now David Adams in the blue and white car ahead of these two. And yeah, this has not been a particularly good run for Diaz. I'm honestly debating if that was worth that call or not to move up track position considering he's dropping so fast.
Well, they have still, they were 16th and 20th. Diaz was 20th. I believe Altena was 16th. So Altena still got a pretty big game. Pablo Diaz is losing all of his track position that he gained from that rather quickly. You're seeing the blip and Diaz dropping back. I'm just seeing Alexis Newsom pull away for the most part. Been consistently faster than Malechka the few laps prior. Malechka last time by, though, almost a tenth and a half faster. We'll see this time by definitely faster, so maybe Malechka was just kind of holding back before he made a charge at Alexis Newsom.
Looking at the battle for 6th place, Chris Cahill in the yellow and orange car in behind, trying to make work of Altena. Altena's been doing a great job defending, but again, only so much you can do when you're at a disadvantage with older tires. You can see Cahill working on the outside, and people got to get very careful.
Wow.
Very close to the outside wall for Chris Cahill. I got it right on this camera for this angle. A little bit of wash from Altena. Cahill goes wide. Whew. Very close to that outside wall.
Altena got sideways. This is more loose of a track than I initially thought. He must be way up on the weight jacker trying to get that thing to turn right now. Altena, surprised he's not defending on the outside more so he can keep a run off these corners. He's going to the bottom and it's really costing him. And he's just trying anything he possibly can to get that thing to turn.
Yeah, I was going to say the bottom probably not his best bet. You're going to be forcing your already worn out tires to do even more. And then you got the wake from the Aero wash. So you're not really having the nose or the rear wing really doing their maximum ability. So it's just a handling problem in general. As you mentioned, you throw in the weight jacker, car's going to be all out of whack, and you're just asking for the car to spin out sideways. Similar to what we saw with Aaron Roos, who's actually called it a night on this restart. I guess he figured the car wasn't really in raceable shape, decided to call it in early. So still 21 cars remaining on the lead lap. You mentioned you're talking about Alexis Newsom checking out. However, Robert Malechka, I guess not surprisingly at this point in the season, is slowly trailing her back in. Newsom last time by a 24.6. Malechka about a tenth of a second faster. Is that a tenth of a second?
Just about, yes.
Just about. I'm looking at the small OBS screen, so the 8 looks like a 0 in the middle.
It's close enough. It might as well be a tenth. Malechka you know, when he got the second place, he actually was losing tenths to the 63 machine, and it seems like he's picked it up, got clean air, got his bearings a little bit, and now he's on the charge. Only 700ths faster that time, but the gap is closing. It's down to about 8.5 tenths now. Now the question is, when he gets into dirty air, how much more ground can he gain?
Yeah, that is really going to be the big question because, you know, I think what he's really eyeing on is getting at least the draft on the straightaways. And I think more or less he's kind of already gotten that a little bit, at least the tail end at about 0.8 of a second back. But as mentioned, yeah, that the aero wash, the dirty air, not going to be doing a whole lot for you, especially because he's already had to put in some work on this set of tires. Remember, he was fighting for position pretty hard with Julian Altona and with Paulo Diaz earlier in the run, and then also was trying to hold off Andrew Wood. Wood slowly slipping back, and now 1.2 seconds in behind.
And looking at the scramble, this is how the reason it's sort of maybe more spread out than last run at the front is probably Julian Altona. Jacob Oster has been pretty much on the back of the 71 for a while now, but no one else can seem to make the pass. Altona so far working out pretty well, +8 from where he was before the yellow.
You can see Oster, big run, going to try to have a look down to the inside. Oster going to able to get that car pinned nicely to that yellow line. Altona also still able to get a pretty solid run around that outside to keep Oster at bay.
I think he listened to us. I think he knew he was doing something wrong maybe, and he went up there. That being said, he goes back to the bottom, so maybe I spoke too soon. You can see the back of that car kicking out, especially in turns 1 and 2, which is maybe where he's struggling the most.
You're talking about Altona?
Yes.
Yeah, let's try to ride on board next time by. You can already kind of see him centering the wheel. I'm not sure if it's really the offset. He's got a little bit of offset, but it looks like his car is handling a little bit loose on the exit of the corner. I think, as mentioned, has that weight jacker dialed up on entry 2. Looking pretty all right as Jacob Oster slowly works his way around the inside lane, but now a drag race down the backstretch. You can see Altona able to clear him by just about a car length. Great battle for position. And Oster tries to fall in line, gets a wash out of turn number 4. Carey going to take advantage of it as they battle for ninth. Up, Connor. I'm not sure if it's your end or mine or not. I think I'm struggling to hear you. Hang on 1 second. What? Still can't hear you, buddy. All right, having trouble getting audio from Connor Horn here. See if we could try to work something out while under green. Nothing really changed much in the lead. Actually, it's a little bit expanded a little bit with Newsom going ahead of Mleczka. It looks like Connor's having some audio difficulties on his end, so I'll let him sort that out. We'll be back with us shortly. But Newsom doing a great job now, starting to expand that gap to Mleczka, which is a bit surprising considering it's going the opposite direction. Just a few laps to go. And actually, speaking of Newsom, down on pit road, a little bit of an earlier stop than I would have thought. Actually, this makes sense because Newsom did not come into pit road. It's actually right on cue for the number 63. These guys can go about 40 laps on a tank of gas, especially running in the slipstream. Go maybe a little bit more, around 42, 43 laps. So Newsom down on pit lane. So this is the disadvantage for her. She's going to be off sequence compared to her other competitors. So we'll see how much this is going to cost her. Probably about a lap and some change. There's Mleczka already going around to lap section. Might be almost 2 laps.
I think I'm back.
Yes,
hopefully.
you are.
Luckily, this is Kyle Heyer's box that he gave me, so when it goes out, blame him. But while I was watching that, I was kind of surprised. Like I think you kind of mentioned it, I was surprised Newsom came down, but she did not pit, so I guess it makes sense. Thought the tank might last a little longer, but apparently not. Maybe just strategy, trying to split it up more evenly with her runs. And we'll see if she can get through the pack of cars that she's got up ahead. Brian Carey, she's actually put herself in clean air, which is actually very good, very well done. Maybe that could be a reason as to why she pit at that point.
Yeah, I think she's more or less on the cusp of having to pit. I think she figured might as well just pit now, better now than later. These guys can go about 40 laps or so. I want to just refer to the information I was sent by both Matt Hollaba and Andrew Wood. Both of them were nice enough to send me some data to work with. Appreciate both of those drivers. taking their time to give me some information. So yeah, so these guys should be able to go 38, 39 laps, pretty much no problem by themselves, and then around 42 to 44 laps with a little bit of running in the little lifting coast while in the slipstream with someone else. So it's kind of looking to be the fuel mileage. So maybe she came in maybe a little bit earlier than we would have expected, but more or less right on cue for her, especially considering she was running up in front with no one to draft off. So she was going full throttle the entirety of her run.
Yes, I think up at that point she led every lap but the first one, or at least the first two. Malechka got her by 2 1,000, so a lot of time in clean air, so pretty much burning the maximum amount of fuel there.
Yeah, 30 laps led, so did most of the heavy lifting in this first part of the race. We'll see. She should be close to the top, if not near on top, when the cycle is out. Expecting the leaders to make their next stops in about 10 or so laps time. Robert Malechka currently working around Julian Olsona, putting him 2 laps down. Also just want to take note of where they are on the track. So Malechka on the line now. Newsome about half a lap, little less than half a lap behind, so she's not that far 1 lap down. So it's not the worst case scenario for her.
Really, the important part here is to see how much ground she might make up, as this could help. Altena going for the lap back, one of his 2 laps back. It might hurt Malechka's line out of the corner. Malechka not willing to give up quite yet. Don't really want to lift in these cars. You lose too much momentum.
Altena working to the inside. I'm curious how much Malechka is going to fight this, because it is fighting a car that's not even just 1 lap, 2 laps down. So not exactly fighting for a position, and the more that these guys fight, the more it gives chance for Andrew Wood, 2.5 seconds behind Malechka, to try to catch back up.
Yeah, if you look at the times, Malechka last time by ran a 25 flat. We go back to Alexis Newsom at the line right now. It's a 24.673. So that's a lot of time between pit stops for Malechka to be losing here.
Here's see where you see anyone pit a little bit early, trying to do the math in my head. So you just actually ticked over with about 100 laps to go in this race, a little shy of halfway. So if you're gonna pit around lap 40 each time, you're gonna probably ideally want to come the next 20 or so laps. Thing is, these guys are gonna have to come the next 5, so they are gonna have to make, I believe, another 2 stops. Oh, and I hear Andrew Wood slowing and off the banking. He's gonna be one of the first to come down pit road. Only 36 laps run. A little bit of oopsie down, I think.
A little bit sideways, a little bit, but he got a quote down. Angel Musaman also came down pit lane. That's from around the 15th position, somewhere around there. And I would be surprised if Malechka didn't respond, but at the same time, he has the cleaner air and he's been one of the faster cars. Why not just run the tank full? Tank empty, excuse me.
These guys is making their own gas as they run.
I wish that would work really well for me in some races I've ran out.
So Malechka working his way on the back straightaway now. Andrew Wood, I think, just about coming onto the racetrack now, working his way through 1 and 2. So he's going to be running around 17th and was passed by Alexis Newsom, moves herself up into 16th position.
Gotta be careful on the pit exit as well. Entry is pretty scary also, but the pit exit, that inside wall is right there, and you really only have the lane that you got below that yellow line, so you have to be extremely careful to not over-accelerate and put yourself in the inside wall or even back into traffic.
Yeah, very easy to do so. Paulo Diaz now about to be putting 2 laps down to Newsom at least, or a lap down to Newsom, just working her way past. But yeah, it has not been a particularly good night for Diaz, and again, we know he is down due to being off sequence with everyone else, but that last one didn't really put him in a good place, and even so, if a caution comes out now, he's going to be...
Jacob Oster's gone around on pit entry.
I was talking about a caution coming out. Not going to be from this because it happened down in pit lane. We'll take a look at what happened to Oster, as you mentioned, coming down onto pit lane. Can be pretty tricky, especially trying to slow down off the banking. Let's see, looked like he started slowing down pretty early, but those cones are a lot earlier than I think he probably expected or was remembering them to be. And went for a little loop-de-loop, was able to right the car in the right direction.
It's a lot of time to lose, especially for this race, the way it's going, so difficult to pass. You really don't want to make those mistakes here.
So Oster getting service to his car. Alexander Ball in the 12 car down on pit lane to service his machine.
Pretty much everyone's coming in now. Chris Cahill, Chris Stouffer. The Chris is coming to pit lane. Alexander Ball as well. David Adams. Malechka's just called out. He's going to be pitting this time, so he made it to lap 58. But that's about 40 laps on that tank, just about over
Yeah,
it.
he
Tony
came out,
Schoen
and he
comes in
came
behind him.
late off the banking too, Milwaukee, really trying to maximize the amount of time on pit lane. Andres Ike going to be inheriting the lead. Can't imagine for too much longer. He's gone 50, he's gone around 43 laps on this stint. That tank is definitely running on air at this point.
No, imagine. Yeah, that would be a very interesting fuel tank. More drivers coming into pit lane. That is Brian Carey as well.
And Ike actually going to go one more lap. I think he's trying to extend the tank. And I want to say this on purpose. I mean, if you can do 45 laps a stint, which is what he's currently projected to do about, maybe a little bit less, it could be good to make it on one more stop. I'm curious if he's playing with the fuel map. Unfortunately, there's no way for us to check that data isn't transmitted over iRacing. Only the drivers really know. Luckily, he was a little bit fast in the pit lane, was able to slow it down. So he went a total of 44 laps on his stint. Matt Hollaba and Doug South also in a similar situation. So I am curious to see where Ike comes out, because then we can really gauge if he's running slower. Actually, could you do me a favor, Connor? Can you check his last few lap times just to see if they were off the pace in any way?
Who's Ike's?
Andres Ike's.
Potentially trying to look at the times. It didn't seem like it was too far off pace. Usually when the tires wear, the 25 flat range is and 24.9s are where you end up. So maybe not much over.
Because I was curious to see if he was playing with the fuel mapping and trying to extend his fuel range again. Because if you can go 45 laps from here, you can make it. It's very, very, very close. But it's possible to make it. And I guess if you can't win by outright speed, you can definitely win it on strategy. And we've seen that happen many a times. Doug South now rolling off of pit lane and actually still waiting on Matt Hollaba. Hollaba, I think, definitely going for the fuel-saving strat, running 25 ones at the moment, opposed to some of the other guys who're screaming out here in the mid-24s. So losing a few tenths, but trying to make it on one last stop that could be big for him later in the race. But if you're going to commit, you have to commit now.
Keep in mind, a lot of these numbers on this run are going to be a little bit inflated because of the yellow flag laps, caution laps. Not too much, but it will make a difference. Just noted, Doug South, who pit pretty late, he came up onto the banking on pit exit a little too early. The left side went into the inside wall. We're literally just talking about that. That seemed to bite him as he comes back down the pit road with a bent left front.
Yeah, that's the absolute worst thing that want to happen to you, as you mentioned. And having to fix the car under green is going to be another pain to deal with for the number 8 car, so he's going to have to work on getting that fixed. Trying to look at where everyone's kind of ended back up. So interestingly enough, on that sequence, not sure if it was on the track and we missed it or not, Andrew Wood overtaking Robert Malechka down on pit lane.
That was on pit lane. Andrew Wood pit a number of laps earlier than Malechka, and it definitely paid off. Malechka has been closing in a little bit, but not enough to really even warrant considering him getting that position back. And in front of all them, Alexis Newsom opened up, at the time, a 2-second lead. Last time by, Andrew Wood about maybe even 0.6 faster than Alexis Newsom, so he's closing in fast.
He's closing in fast, approaching the second half of this race. Strategy starting to heat up a little bit, as we're kind of unsure of where these guys are going to go with their strategy. Looking like Hollaba is trying to play the long game and trying to make this race on one last stop. These guys are, everyone else is pretty much going to have, especially Alexis Newsom, Pablo Diaz, and Julian Alton are all going to have to make it on 2 more stops. Definitely everyone else, they may be able to stretch it, although with some of the guys that look like they weren't really fuel saving on the last run. So they're going to have to, they're going to definitely probably have to make 2 stops.
Yeah, what this pit sequence has done is spread things out even more. Doug South back on the racetrack, but just looking at everyone's intervals, it's 12 seconds from first place to 6th place. 6th place being Chris Cahill, who started there and runs there. Same for Ike, who started 5th and runs 5th. Tony Schoen in the same boat. Everyone kind of getting their own space. At the same time, though, the top 3 are kind of converging on each other as Newsom gets held up with a little bit of dirty air from lap cars.
Indeed, only about 2 seconds separating, just under 2 seconds separating our leaders. Here's Alexis Newsom working her way through. Andrew Wood, and as you mentioned, Robert Malechka closing in on the 2 of them, just in front, getting past the lap car. It's the blue and yellow machine. I want to say
Alexander Ball.
Alexander Ball, thank you. Currently running in 12th, just put 1 lap down.
That's a lot of the one thing that came through this. A lot more drivers went a lap down this time. Charles Ante is the first driver 1 lap down. Don't believe there's lucky dogs, but it's something to shout about, I suppose. Pablo Diaz has struggled. He's a lap down. John Downing, Wayne Hunter, Doug South with his issue. Many other drivers struggling right now.
Yeah, looking at Matt Holaba, currently in danger of going a lap down. You can see Alexis Newsom approaching him, and she almost tagged the wall coming off turn number 2.
Been noting that she's been very close to that turn 2 wall on this run, trying to maximize what she's got left to try to keep that lead to make sure Andrew Wood cannot get by her by the time she has to make her next pit stop.
Yeah, it's coming out a lot closer than a lot may think. Next pit stop is due in about 10 or so laps time. So she's pretty much, as we just finished the last set of pit stops, we're already starting another set entirely. So it's amazing. These things aren't quite a lot. I assume these guys are fuel limited. I forgot what the limit is for them.
80%.
80%. I was going to assume is 80%, but I know ORL is also running 80%. So didn't want to get confused there, so I'm glad I'm not. So yeah, 80% fuel tank. And these laps fly around there quick. They're doing 25-second lap time, so it comes up pretty quick on you. And even though this race too, just about halfway through, about half an hour left of racing left to go. Mostly green for this race. Only 1 caution slowing us down earlier around lap 15.
Yeah, and that was really the only incident we've had. We've seen drivers get sideways a little bit. Some drivers wash up in dirty air, but a pretty clean race, a pretty spread out race so far. Not too many big movers. The top 6 have stayed the top 6, albeit the top 3 are in a different order, but 4th through 6th, exactly where they started. And then you have Brian Carey, who's gone 23rd to 7th just casually. Very strong run up through the field for him.
Yeah, and taking a look at him trying to make a move on Chris Cahill at the moment, trying to make it 24 spots gain. 17 spots gained starting from 23rd, but Cahill putting up a little bit of a fight in his 57th car.
Not even that he really has to put that much of a fight up, just kind of run the bottom, run whatever lane that Brian Carey might want to, and you're pretty much going to stay in front of him. Brian Carey's been held at bay for a while behind this 57 machine, very bright 57 machine, as Brian Carey falls back a little bit off that battle.
You also saw a change for position, Julian Altina dropping a spot, and now trying to gain that spot back, getting very close to that outside wall. It's about as close as you want to get. We got it right on board with that, because that was flirting with the wall if I've ever seen it.
That is not as close as you want to get. You never want to see the wall right next to you in an Indy car.
Especially Kentucky, too, because it gets very tight coming out of turn number 4. The wall, the radius of the corner tight on the outside tightens up a lot. So if you're drifting to the outside wall, you're almost certain that you're going to be in the wall itself, but just able to avoid that. Almost gets close to it again.
Did get close to it again. Also watched the battle up ahead of him. Jacob Oster dropped the 11th spot to Joe Branch. Actually a good recovery for Oster. He didn't really lose much time on that pit entry spin. He's done a good job minimizing the damage that's came from that.
Catalyst 317 on the side of Gerald Branch's car. Beautiful livery, especially under night.
Oh, battle for the lead brewing up here. Newsom kind of stuck behind Charles Ante here, and Andrew Woods closed in, as well as Malechka. The top 3 separated by just 7/10 now, as Tony Schoen is closing in on this battle as well. Yeah,
I think the battle really starting to heat up with the amount of lap traffic that Newsom has to deal with. Got Charles Ante up the road. We're just looking at Matt Holaba and Oster right ahead of them. So a lot of cars and Altina in the mix as well. So all these cars battling with themselves and battling to try to stay on the lead lap as much as possible. Remember, no lucky dog here in IndyCar. You're going to have to race for your lap back if a caution comes out. So you want to stay on the lead lap as much as humanly possible. As Newsom taking the inside lane, Wood getting a great run in behind on the outside. He's going to take a great run to the inside in turn number 3.
Both drivers with dirty air. Julian Altina falls back as well. They stay side by side for a moment, but that bottom just not enough grip down there to be able to charge out of the corner and hold the lead or any sort of battle. Newsom pulls back ahead.
And there you're looking at Marvin Malechka. You can see the 2 leaders directly ahead of them. He gets a massive run on Wood on the back straightaway. Well, not so much of a run, but was just able to close in so much more as Wood struggling with dirty air in front of him.
Yeah, he tried that Larson line, that way high line. He had to actually get out of the gas. Surprised he didn't lose more momentum. He really lost touch with the 63 for a moment, has to gain all that back while keeping the 90 with Malechka at bay, as well as Tony Schoen, who has thoroughly joined the battle here.
Great stuff here. The battle's starting to heat up, and just as Newsom's going to have to come down pit road, I think I'm waiting to see when she comes on down. She's on lap 38 of her run. And these numbers aren't inflated because there's no caution laps this stint for her, so she's going to have to come down, especially because she's in the lead for a good majority. Going to have to come down the next lap or two. And so I think that also may be why Wood Malechka may not be putting up as much of a fight because they know that she's going to have to leave this battle early.
Yeah, these drivers putting on a heck of a show. Top four separated by 1 second, and then it's another 6 seconds back to Andreas Ike back in 5th place. He was about half a second faster than Newsom last time, so with this lap traffic, even he is closing, but he has a much longer way to go. We just heard over the radio, Newsom is pitting this time, so got to make sure. That's probably why she's been running the bottom line. Doesn't want to give up her line just in case those drivers try to pass her. So she will not give up that inside line. She will come down this time. Wood goes outside. He will assume the lead.
Yeah, Wood goes outside, but almost hitting Altena, and Altena also having to pit because on the same pit strategy as Newsom. So Wood now your leader, though we'll see how much longer this is going to last because now as soon as he's taking the lead, he's got to worry about Robert Malechka closing in behind him.
Malechka's been very fast, fresher tires as well, but hasn't been able to use them yet anywhere. Had a few shots at Andrew Wood, but
Tony Schoen also making move, the underdog in this battle. As soon as he talked about the top three, he's closed in and gotten past Malechka.
That was a pretty striking. Didn't see that coming, really. Tony Schoen, great move there. I think it caught Malechka by surprise, potentially. Can't imagine Malechka saving, but he's starting to drop his pace significantly. Dropped way back through 1 and 2 as well.
Yeah, I think for anyone trying to save at this point, I think you kind of missed the bus because I think if you wanted to save the tank and try to eliminate one pit stop, you need to start doing it on the previous run, like we saw guys like Matt Hollabaugh and Doug South attempting to do. So curious to see where everyone else is going to line up in this equation. But yeah, I think at this point, if you weren't saving the last run, you might as well just push as hard as possible to the end.
Yeah, I would say so. No reason to do it. Really, no one. I don't think anyone's going to make it on one more stop from this point. We might be surprised, I suppose. Oh, saw a little bit of debris down the back straightaway. Thought this way. So there's a car wrecked. It's John Downing down the back stretch.
Oh, in the middle of the racing line. Caution out.
And that's going to kill Alexis Newsom, who's trapped a lap down.
Yeah, if there wasn't a caution that can come at a worse time. Had this happened about a lap or two earlier, wouldn't have been an issue, and I actually just saw a piece of that debris you had seen. This is John Downing coming out of turn number 2, hits the wall pretty hard, loses, I think, the rear side pod, and then is just kind of, you pretty much can't steer the car. Once you lose a wheel, like, you basically can't steer the car. Had it stuck on the banking. You can see as the car is raised by, caution came out. So you can take a look what happened here. Maybe a little bit of wash up ahead. Oh.
That was weird. He kind of just coming out of the corner.
Oh, I wonder if he lost. I wonder if he had a steering wheel this quick. You see how the wheels are dead.
Wow.
Yeah, he got close to a few guys. Try to take a look at who he hit. I just want to take another look at the steering wheel because it looked like it went dead center, which may be a wheel disconnect.
We saw it steer over, but iRacing is not always completely accurate, so no way to tell unless we get it from him himself. Look at all these cars barely miss him. My goodness, that could have been a terrible wreck.
Yeah, do you know any of the guys that didn't end up kind of flying past in there? I want to see if we can get an angle of that.
Got a lot of guys. Christopher, Alexis Newsom was one of those cars, actually, as well as Julian Altena.
There we go. Got Ryan Carey. I think
Alexis Newsom might get the best view. It was extremely close for her and Altena.
Whew, yeah.
Wow.
Terrifying sight to see a car turning down and you like that. But we join Alexis Newsom, and we were talking about her getting put a lap down. She will get a little bit lucky because everyone pretty much had to come down pit road again. So she will inherit the lead, and she will be able to be back on the lead lap due to a wave around. By everyone else having to pit. However, she's going to be very far back in traffic, in 16th place at the moment. So still not an ideal situation considering she was running up inside the top 3, but happy song and dance for pretty much everyone in behind her. As we got just about 16 laps left to go. So we're still going to have one more stop till the end. It'll be Tony Schoen in the lead, Andrew Wood, Robert Malechka. I think actually Tony Schowen just inherited the lead from Andrew
Yes, he
Wood.
did.
So
Yes,
good.
he did. It was a pretty big race off of pit road. Schowen won it. Wood got second. Malechka couldn't gain any ground, but that could be a big moment. We've seen how important getting the clean air off a restart is, and Schoen's going to have it here.
Indeed, again, you're watching the Kentucky 225 here from the Indy Elite Series. And these guys putting on a fantastic show this evening. Some great racing here tonight, and also some great racing coming up for the rest of the season. If you have any interest in the series, definitely stay tuned to watch. Next week, we're going to be heading to the Milwaukee Mile, and it has been a very long time since I've seen any racing at Milwaukee.
I know the Outsiders Racing League went there once. That was a pretty interesting race when they went there, but I can't
Yes.
remember a lot going there.
Yeah, I think I think Indy Elite has gone there in the past. I could just want to remember seeing an IndyCar race of some kind around the Milwaukee Mile. After that, we got WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca coming up the week after that. Then Texas Motor Speedway, Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway, Long Beach, and then to end out the season, where else to end out a season? Just before the month of May, in April 24th, the 7th annual Indianapolis 500, presented by Catalyst 317 from Indianapolis. And hopefully, by that time, hopefully, fingers crossed, iRacing, we get the new version of Indianapolis, because that track is definitely due for an upgrade, to say the least.
That's the next one on the list. We cried about Watkins Glen for about 5 years. We might need to cry another 5 years. We need to cry for Kyle. We needed to cry for Kyle for Watkins Glen. I don't know what's going to happen the next time he wants an update for that place.
Yeah, it's definitely been a long time coming for Watkins Glen. But now, as you mentioned, we kind of have to shift attention to other tracks. I guess on that list is also Spa. Spa definitely needs some love.
It will.
Yeah, because I think every other sim has a fairly modern version. I think iRacing has one of probably the oldest renders of the track out of most of the major sims out on the market. I know I think R Factor 2 released a fairly recent one. I think Assetto Corsa. Well, Assetto Corsa has their version, then Assetto Corsa Competizione. But pretty much most series have a modern one. Still missing the Spa with some more runoff area and just the green astroturf, just it looking a lot nicer. I guess VIR is also a track that maybe can use some. Oh, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, that one.
Definitely,
that
one needs
that track's changed a lot.
Yes, it has. That's a pretty big one.
Yeah, so looking forward to some more upgrades. iRacing getting better in general with upgrading older tracks. I have to give them a round of applause. They've been doing a great job. Daytona looks fantastic now. One of the best looking tracks on the sim.
No doubt about it. I think the one oval that pops out to me that needs an update is maybe New Hampshire. It just does not look right at all.
Yeah.
But they do a good job with the ovals because of NASCAR being so involved with everything as we come to the restart here.
Yeah, Indy coming to the restart. Tony Schowen, Andrew Wood, Robert Malechka, Andreas Ike, Chris Cahill. Your order a little bit shaken up here. We'll see what happens. It's just about 16 laps to go. Schowen actually waiting a little bit. Now finally jumping on the gun. We're back green here at Kentucky. Fairly solid start for Schowen up ahead. I don't think he's led a lap up until the cautions come out, so we'll see what he can do from the front. He's got Andrew Wood already trying to close him in from behind.
Malechka tried the bottom, washed up, loses time. Interested to see what the 63 of Newsom can do. Restarting 15th with older tires now. Sort of had a disadvantage with tires, turned into an advantage. Now it's back to a disadvantage with the wave behind Wayne Hunter in 15th, trying to close back in and gain any time back.
Yeah, needless to say, she's got some work to do ahead of her in the next 60 laps. Trying to get herself, whoa, almost
Wow.
like 3 wide with Wayne Hunter and Pablo Diaz. That was looking like it could have been a disaster. But was able to get by Wayne Hunter, has to get past Diaz. That's not for position. Diaz is currently 2 laps down. Meanwhile, back at the front, Andreas Ike hounding the back of Malechka. We were talking about him having to make more of a charge to the front for his championship hopes, or at least trying to take it into his own hands to pass, or attempt to make a pass in the inside in 3 and 4.
Just can't get enough of a run. No one can on the bottom to maintain positioning in any way, shape, or form. Malechka just able to defend. Chops the nose of Andreas Ike pretty tightly there, and Ike falls way back. That's the effects of dirty air.
Yeah, you just lose so much speed. You have to slow down to get the car to still rotate at the same rate throughout the corner, so you can see how much speed he lost. So Ike's going to have to spend another few laps trying to gain that momentum back up and make another attempt on Malechka. Meanwhile, Andrew Wood, nothing really stopping him from trying to catch the back of 31.
Battle for the 7th position. Jacob Oster trying to go around Christopher for that position. They stay side by side. Stouffer up the racetrack. Oster's got the position.
So far, I haven't talked a whole lot about him. Started up in 10th, currently in 8th, been running around the midfield for most of the day. For Jacob Oster, a little bit more movement forward. Started 14th, slowly working his way up to 7th place just with that one pass.
Still trying to look up at the front. Quick shout out to the 21 team. That car's already back on track with John Downing. He only lost 7 laps, so good job for the iRacing damage model, folks.
Yeah, just trying to make him as many points as possible. No one retired ahead of him. Still got 20 guys out on the track, 3 of which are more than 1 lap down. Paulo Diaz 2 laps down. Really catching the short end of the stick on strategy. I think he's probably regretting his call earlier. Might have not been in the same situation that he was in earlier, but it is definitely going to hurt his record of finishing in the top 3 for all the ovals because he's very far from it tonight.
Joe Branch pulling out for a pass. That's for the 9th position. Him and David Adams battle in the turns 3 and 4. Branch way to the bottom. Adams way to the top. Branch is going to be able to make that pass. Adams fighting back, though.
Yeah, trying to have a run back and to get that new skin for this race. Not sure that was a mistake or not, but a nice looking car. Definitely a nice change of pace for the 00. Running just inside the top 10. Also looking at a battle, Jacob Oster, Brian Carey going out. Oster's on the move, battling for 6th place now, side by side with Carey on the front straightaway.
And Ike and Malechka still side by side. Ike trying to make it work on the bottom. Malechka giving little to no room. These 2 championship rivals separated by 53 points coming in tonight, closing it on halfway in the season, battling it out.
Yeah, and Ike not able to get back in. He seemed losing a lot of speed mid-corner, having to back off, give some space, make sure he doesn't put his car into the wall. But trying to make it work into that inside lane, it's easier to make that move on the inside, but the problem is you can rely on that outside car just trying to pinch you down. And especially if they know you're not an aggressive driver, they're going to force you down there because they know you're not. You're going to back out of it.
Yeah, that's sort of a thing that sucks about going down there. You can't be aggressive in any way, shape, or form. You're kind of pinned to that yellow line, or else you're not going to make up speed, or you're going to wreck someone, which is just not what you want to do here. So you're really limited to what you can do when you commit down there, but it's so hard to commit to the top because everyone's going to protect that top line because it's the easy line to defend with.
Speaking of which, we're talking about Andrew Wood. If I'm not mistaken, he's also ripping the high line earlier in the race, and as he's running in behind Tony Schow and running that a little bit high in 1 and 2, looks like he's ducking it down a little bit more in 3 and 4. And again, just I think try to conserve his stuff a little bit for this run. Still have 1 more pit stop for these guys that they have to make before this race is said and done. So again, you still have some equipment left to save. As Malechka and Ike, you can see closing in the background. Leaders, top 4, all within a second of one another. So very close battle up in the front. Ike, I can see him slowly reeling back in that 91.
It takes so long, it seems, to make up any sort of run. It's almost like you get 5 to 7 laps to catch this guy, now pass him in 1. You have to prepare so long to try to make 1 attempt at passing, and once that attempt's gone and you don't complete it, you're back a half a second. You have to do that process all over again.
Yeah, it's really a matter of many laps, as I mentioned, working many laps to try to get yourself in position, and then you have that 1 shot to make it, or otherwise you have to spend another few laps gaining that momentum back. But up in the front, you can see Wood getting very close to the number 31 of Schow, and Schow doing a solid job up in front. Hasn't been near the front since the race went green initially, and then recently took the lead under the last set of, not green flag pit stops, sorry, the last set of pit stops under caution. He's able to move himself up in front of Andrew Wood. Now finds himself the leader.
Working out well for him. Not able to pull away like we haven't really seen anyone pull away other than under green flag pit stops, but a decent gap for the lead for sure as they come up on the lap car of John Downing.
Ooh, Wayne Hunter is he down in pit lane. Not sure if he came down here by himself. Ooh, looks like that car's wobbling a little bit. Maybe it's nothing. I guess it came in for an unscheduled pit stop. A little bit surprised though.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You can theoretically make it to the end from here. It's a bit of a stretch, but not entirely out of the realm of possibility. Though not pitting early in IndyCar, not the best strategy.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be enough to make it to the end. He was already 1 lap down. This should put him at least 2. Very early stop. Maybe he felt something he didn't like there.
Yeah, I couldn't go back and check if he hit the wall or brushed the wall. Might have probably been more or less what it is, but now currently 2 laps down. Has a chance to cycle that out again, but not sure if he may have to come in for splash and dash near the end of the run.
My goodness, Jacob Oster maximizing his corners. He kind of almost had a tank slapper out of turn number 2. All these drivers are really stretching it as close to that turn 2 wall as they can, as Oster now has to defend the man he passed. He gives the outside to Christopher, surprisingly.
Yeah, I think he's letting Stover. I feel like he knows that Stover isn't going to get much of a run. By the time they turn in, Oster going to clear him by a wing.
Oh, no! Huge slide for Jacob Oster. Sorry about that. Stover had to really get on the brakes to avoid him.
Let's take a look at that. So you can get a good angle of this working through turn 2 now. Oster working up the track. Oh yeah, you saw just a little bit of a wiggle there. Trying to see if we can get a better angle of that, but these two guys fighting for position really hard. I think also you can see a car up ahead, lose a little bit of air. You can see him. Whoa! He did a great job of not making that look difficult, but I can tell you as a driver, when you're turning right on the exit of a corner, it's a code brown moment in the cockpit.
Oh yeah, you never want, if you're turning right in an Indy car and it's on an oval, there's something wrong and you're probably going to be very scared of what's about to possibly happen, but good job gathering right there.
Yeah, anytime you lose weight in that steering wheel, you just go, oh god, and just kind of hope for the best.
Pretty much. That's the best way you could describe it. He's still getting sideways off of turn number 4. He's really hanging it out there trying to gain time.
Yeah, I was looking at AJ Musselman and Charles Ante duking out for 13th there. Here's looking back at Oster, and I think it's all a matter of how you set that weight jacker and the anti-roll bar. I think Oster liking the looser setup. Again, you got to be very careful. Not only because it makes the car a little bit looser, that's the obvious adjustment with the setup. When you do that, though, because of the way the weight checker works, you're putting a lot more wear on that right rear tire. So you're going to be forcing that tire to do more work. And towards the end of the run, especially when you're going to be leaning on that tire more, you're going to find yourself at a higher chance of spinning out. So you definitely have to manage the tire on that right rear, otherwise you're going to find yourself spinning towards the infield very soon.
Yeah, it's so difficult to manage it. You kind of have to be on top of the jacker. Car spinning off of turn number 2 into the inside wall. It's Alexander Ball, and the caution is out.
Another one will bite the dust here off of turn number 2. We'll see what happens to Ball. This is pretty much by himself here. Curious if he got tight off of the turn or maybe a little bit loose on exit. A little bit loose.
Could have seen that wall coming up and trying to turn it left, getting away from it, and just got away. That inside wall comes up quick at this version of Kentucky.
Take a look back at it again. More or less normal through 1 and 2, and then you come off the corner, track flattens out, you lose that banking, pushing the car into the ground, and then you just, especially again, if we have the car set up a little bit more loose, it's going to bite you right at a moment like that. So Ball pretty much out of the running. Maybe has a chance at getting that repair, but it's going to be sitting in the pits for quite a while. So pace car out. Leaders have caught it. And I imagine we're going to see everyone come on down. How many laps do you have left to go? 35?
Should be good to the end from here. I think everyone's going to definitely come down.
So this pretty much removes any semblance of pit strategy out of this race when these guys come on down. You also don't have to worry about any green light checkered, so pretty much have all the fuel you're going to need to the end of this race. And all the takers down. A big thing here, we saw Tony Schauen was able to take advantage of the pit stops and gain himself some position. Let's see now if he can do the same thing or if he may lose a position.
Gotta hit your marks here. Can't really undershoot the box.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's going to be the money stop here. Can't afford to make a mistake. You make a mistake, you're going to be stuck with it for the remainder. Probably not going to have to come down pit lane unless you're coming in for repairs. Everyone coming into their box, more or less. Looks like all the leaders find their box in a safe manner. And Jack's dropping out, and away they go. Schauen easily going to take the lead back. Malechka, I think, overtook Wood down on pit lane. So he will gain 1 spot.
Like 4th, Chris Cato up in the top 5. Carey, Oster, Stouffer, Branch, Adams. And trying to look at Alexis Newsom. Newsom still on pit road. Don't know if there was a speeding penalty there. She was up to the 12th position, but it's going to go all the way back to where she was after the wave around, at least on even tires.
Yeah, this is the, as you mentioned, I'm not sure if we just said it or not, it's the last car on the lead lap. So nothing really to lose here. I think did she come in around 14th? I don't think she gained that many positions on that last run.
She restarted around 15th, only 3 positions. We were talking about how easy it can be, how difficult it can be, excuse me, to make up positions. I think she got the penalty. She actually hit the cone on pit entry under yellow, so that might do it.
Ooh, well, she's got to hurry because, okay, there, finally she's able to go. So I was going to say she had to stay anymore. Actually, if it's unsafe pit entry, isn't that a solid black? Oh, sorry, not a solid black. Isn't that I think you have to start that under green, right?
It could be. Don't know. iRacing changes their stuff sometimes, but I don't know. I feel like she would have gone.
You think as many races I've called, I would probably know that by now, but I guess it's not. You typically don't see unsafe pit entries too often, unless someone really messes up. Usually under green.
Yeah, I'm very safe on pit entry, so I wouldn't know.
Typically, I try to be, but I have my moments. Actually, I can. Actually, for the most part, I think I'm pretty good too. I usually try to make it be more conservative because I just don't want to overshoot, and then not only have to deal with working way back around, also the embarrassment of missing pit lane is something I want to avoid. The only real pit road mistake I can come up with is that when I was pitting under caution in an official iRacing race, I had come in and passed the pace car down a pit lane, even though I physically didn't pass it. I had assumed the same thought, or the way the timing works with it, that I did pass the pace car. So I think I might have had maybe just a smidge of overlap with the rear bumper, but I think that's enough for it to trigger. So yeah, I had to come in, and I was the leader too, which was really annoying. I had to come in under green, so I came in as soon as the green flag came out. Did a lap, came back out, drove my way back up to second.
Nice.
I was pretty happy with that, but I was just a little bit. I was like, I could have easily won that race had that not happened. But yeah, it's not too many times that you see under caution a pit road mistake like that. 2 wave rounds working their way around the track. It's Wayne Hunter and Pablo Diaz, both of them getting 1 of their 2 laps down.
One of their 2 laps back, as this should be the final pace lap before green. It's going to be interesting to see how aggressive Robert Malechko will be. We saw him sort of make a dive bomb move into turn 3 much earlier in this race. That was on a driver who had 15-lap older tires, showing even on tires, and he's been strong enough to keep the lead. Malechko's going to have to really find something here to make a move for the win.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen here on this restart here. Going to be interesting. Shawan, Malechko, Wood, Ike, Kehoe. It's going to be a 32-lap sprint to the end of this race. And if you felt like the action hasn't gone up, I think it has definitely gone up. But if you feel like at home that hasn't gone up, well, it's definitely going to start picking up now. Nothing really left to save. What you got is what you got. Pace car going to be handed off to Tony Shawan off of turn number 4. See him be a little bit late in the going on these restarts. There he goes, off and away. We are green back here at Kentucky.
What a jump from Malechko. He timed it perfectly. He's going to have a very good shot at stealing this lead away from Tony Shawan.
Bringing to the outside of Shawan as they're getting up to speed. Andrew Wood with an aggressive run, clips a bit of that yellow line. It's a drag race for 3 drivers up near the front. Wood trying to use a great run. Goes on the inside of Malechko, almost tries to time a run to the inside of Shawan, but can't quite get it done. And they're fanning out and duking out here the first lap after the restart.
Shawan giving the draft to Malechko. Malechko will look high. Can he do anything with it? He looks even higher than Shawan. Shoves him 2 by 2. The top 4. Where did Andreas Ike come from? He gets to the outside of Wood for the 3rd position.
Yeah, and usually a little bit more on the quiet side. Ike not too flashy with his moves, but going to take an easy pass on Wood, move himself up into the podium places. Now it's just a matter of setting sights on the leaders. His main competitor, Robert Malechko, just ahead.
Malechko, I thought he had such a good chance to take the lead away down the backstretch, but he just couldn't get the run. Andrew Wood getting alongside him definitely hurt his chances, trying the top line, avoiding the 31's line. Just can't get enough of a run quite yet.
Here to see what Shawan's going to do. If he's just going to stay on that bottom lane, arguably that's probably his best bet. Trying to make Malechko work it around the hard way and also leave him prey to guys like Andrew Wood and Andreas Ike in behind, trying to take advantage. some swaps for position in the back as well, but I really don't want to move in this battle because Ike cashing up, trying to make a move.
Malechka, a little bit of a run here. Is it enough to look to the bottom to Shawan block? Because Malechka dive. Malechka can't do anything but just ride the top.
Top three all within 0.3 of a second. A great run off the corner for Ike, trying to get a run on Malechka up ahead. Is he going to have, he has enough of a move to really kind of work to the inside. Waits on it, he's going to play it more patient.
Shawan didn't go to the bottom like I thought he would. Malechka's going to have his best shot to swoop to the bottom. Shawan not protecting it, but Malechka not going for it.
I think he knows he's maybe, that Shawan was probably trying to bait him. Shawan would have just tried to pinch him on the exit of 3 and 4. Malechka also just kind of waiting for an opportunity to present itself.
Can't wait too long though. When these tires wear out, we've seen how spread out it can get, and you'll lose your chance. Next time by, it should be about 26 laps to go. Malechka has to make the move at his earliest convenience.
Yeah, a few battles going on in the midfield. Joe Branch, David Adams fighting for position. Matt Hollaba, Alexis Newsom also tweaking out. See Hollaba on it with a run on AJ Musselman. Alexis Newsom also trying to work her way back up from 13th. Restarted 14th, so trying to make quick work of the guys near the middle of the pack. When we go back up to our leaders, because this is really where the action is going to be here. You saw Ike having a bit of a look to the inside of Malechka, but nothing he can really do there because he's got all that wash from Shawan up ahead taking that inside.
Dating back to the last run, it's almost Ike is a tiny bit faster than Robert Malechka, but he just can't make the move stick. He can't get enough traction, enough clean air to the bottom to make it stick. Malechka just pinches him whenever he tries anything, as you see here through 1 and 2. Ike dives, can't do anything about it.
Yeah, but was able to actually get pretty close to the rear wing of a Malechka. Problem is when you're so close to that rear wing, you're getting the maximum amount of dirty air. It's going to really slow you down if you're not prepared for it. Ike keeping that car just kind of pinned in low. Not sure that's the best strategy for him, but there's really nowhere else for him to go. I don't think he wants to ride the very top lane.
I'm just surprised Malechka, he didn't dive into the 31's draft down the front straightaway. I thought that might have been a good opportunity to look to the top, maybe make an opportunity to pinch him through 1 and 2, but Malechka didn't want to do that.
Working the way through turn number 4 now across the line. Just about 20 laps to go. Laps winding down here at Kentucky. The race is coming down to it. The leaders all duking it out. Woody was a little bit quiet after the first few initial laps, slowly working his way back in. The top 4 essentially have broken away from the rest of the field, left to duke it out by themselves.
That 5th place battle has been kind of raging on. Chris Cahoe's been in front of Jacob Oster. Oster hasn't been able to find a way to get around. Chris Stouffer's dropped back from that battle as well, as these top 4, like you said, kind of just pulling away here.
Top 3 like a hornet's nest. I think that's Diaz coming off of pit lane.
Yes.
And pretty much had to because he stayed out trying to get a lap back. He was hoping for a quick kill. Didn't come to him. Is back 2 laps down, looking to be 3 laps down. And we're going to see what he's going to do here. He's going to stay in front of the leaders and just kind of dive to the inside and not try to get caught up in their mess. Go in behind Malechka, Ike side by side. Malechka pinching Ike down on the inside, as we've seen him do many times before.
Yeah, through 3 and 4 last time, Shawan took the top away from Robert Malechka, kind of surprised the 91. He lost a lot of time. Ike had a shot, but once again, that 91 machine just pinches Ike down, and Ike loses all that time.
Shawan and dealing with Malechka. Malechka with a little bit of a run to the top lane. If he can time this right, he can have a very good run out of turn number 2 and heading towards 3 and 4 on the back straightaway. But that straightaway, man, it's so short for these guys. By the time you think you may have a run, you're already turning in.
Shawan is starting to play the sort of, the mirror game, here, which is just mirror driving pretty much. He's trying to take Malechka's entry and exit away, and it's working well so far, keeping him at bay. He only started doing that 5 laps ago when the tires started wearing. Now he's really taking a late entry into all these corners. Malechka tried bottom, hoping Shawan would protect, and he did not. Malechka going to lose more time with that.
In behind them, Wood and Ike starting to fight it out. Ike losing a little bit of time to the top 2. Wood trying to take advantage of that with the lack of slipstream that Ike has at his disposal. Wood just trying to get a run here around, and 76 put himself up into 3rd.
Really no other battles going on track here. Wayne Hunter, Charles Ante, they're close for position, but not on track. A lap separating them. Everyone's spreading out at this point except for the leaders. Matter of tug of war between the top 2 spots, and also a battle for 3rd.
17 laps to go.
Got to put the podium rages on. I think Wood is a little faster than Ike. He just can't find any sort of way to get a run on that 76 machine to try anything. He's been the one, he's probably been the most ambitious with the high line. Andrew Wood has been. He just hasn't been getting the benefits from that.
Yeah, as you mentioned, not really too many battles going on. Everyone's kind of sorted themselves in line. Just the leaders duking it out at the moment. Milechka losing a lot of steam from earlier. Are we a bit surprised from this, or do you think he's maybe saving up for one last final push?
I don't know how you save in an IndyCar without giving up positions. I think that was just about as much as he had. I don't know if he can get any closer than he did to Tony Schoen there. And he's got a gap to Ike where, I mean, I wouldn't drop back to him, but I suppose he could do that to get some clean air on the nose and have one more run at him. But I think that might have been all the 91 had to come to 14 to go.
Milechka running out of time. Tony Schoen easily taking control of this race after caution in the middle, just around halfway. Being able to take advantage of it. He's led pretty much every lap since then. It's not what I wanted to pull up. I'm going to pull up this graphic. Has led 48 laps tonight. I think, I'm trying to take a look. I think we would probably led more. Milechka definitely not. I think Newsom's probably the closest one. She has led 58 laps, and I think Schoen might have a chance at that. Yeah, if Schoen leads till the end, which is what it's looking like it's going to be at the moment. I'm assuming Schoen that takes most laps led, but I'm sure he probably cares less about that. He's trying to make sure he gets his win.
Yeah, just trying to hold on at this point. Don't have to do as much defending, I wouldn't think, here. Car is kind of getting a bit more difficult to handle, but that's the same for Milechka, especially in the dirty air. Schoen just kind of has to run his race at this point, and he should come home the winner.
Really, the biggest wrench into things would be a caution coming out now if these guys decide to pit or not. Probably, we wanted to say probably not, but you never quite know. There's always that interesting bit of strategy when it gets thrown in the mix, seeing what drivers do, especially in the spur of the moment. But so far, it's been a fairly clean race. I think we only had 3 cautions tonight, so not dirty by any standard. So I wouldn't expect a caution to come up, but you never know.
Oh, as you say, that spin out of 4. It's Julian Altena. He's able to save it, though. We should stay green. If he keeps it straight, he does. He's going to stop on the track, though, and he's going to get back going again. Yeah,
still green on the track. This is what happened to him. He's just struggling with the car. I thought I saw him just hit the wall out of turn 2. And then here in 3 and 4, this I think has the car way too loose, just trying to hang on for dear life. And somehow prevented a caution from coming out.
His wheel said he put it in reverse there for a second. I'm not sure how that was possible. That's why he didn't get going initially. He was going the wrong way.
It's definitely something you wanted to do. Do not put it in R. That does not mean race.
I actually do. I think I do remember him slightly tapping the wall. So he had more pace in this earlier. I think slightly tapping the wall. That's how much damage you can do to that suspension by just tapping it a little bit. Way off pace now.
Yeah, well, we say it tap. I mean, you are hitting the wall at a when he comes down to things, you're hitting the wall. And, we're on highway speed when you're coming off the corner. You're approaching it at around, maybe 67 miles an hour. So it may seem like a tap, but it's quite a lot of damage, and definitely shows in these cars when you knock the steering out of alignment. It's already seen a few retirements from that tonight, from hits off of turn 2 or off of turn 4 especially.
Yeah, I think it's 2 off of turn 2, and I think it's at least the 1 joyride through the grass off the turn 4 wall out of turn number 4, obviously. Just sort of trouble points where these cars, maybe the air shifts, a little bit of a change of the banking can make all the difference.
Riding on board in the cockpit of Robert Milechka, wondering what he's going to do, if he's got any bullet left in the chamber. Coming with 7 laps to go, the laps winding down. And for the most part, looks like Schoen's got control of this race, slowly breaking away. But here comes Andreas Ike. He's saying, no, before you try to get the lead, let me try to get you.
Yeah, still really nothing doing for the race for the lead. There's a battle for 12th, brewing. Alexis Newsom still trying to recover any spots she can. Gets around the 54 machine for that position.
Started all the way up, was running all the way up pretty much in the top 3 all night long, except the untimely caution, putting her a lap down, was able to recover with a wave around, but still hasn't fully recovered from that. Going to be running on 12. Hopefully she can get a top 10, try to salvage something out of tonight, and wondering what could have been, could have almost been a race win.
Yeah, Tony Shalwin tried the way top through 3 and 4. I'm not sure why, but he did try the top through 3 and 4 and lost a decent amount of time. He's going to run high again. Malechko runs low. That's going to really help the 91 at least get a little bit of a last charge here, coming to 4 laps to go.
Yeah, and I don't think 5 laps to go is when you want to start experimenting with different racing lines, but Shalwin, I guess, trying to just keep Malechko off. I guess maybe try to change his lane, keep him guessing a little bit so he doesn't get into a rhythm and have any chance of trying to catch him here. 3.5 laps to go, going to be 3 laps to go at the line. You can see him, as you mentioned, running that middle lane. I guess trying to make sure he gets a decent exit off the court.
But it's really giving Malechko the bottom line, and Malechko's using that to his advantage to gain ground. I wouldn't be experimenting when I'm in the race lead pulling away from second place, but it's a bold strategy for sure. Gains a little bit on the inside on Malechko, but Malechko, the draft, carries him back up. 2 laps to go next time by.
Yeah, I'm sure Malechko is saying, yes, please continue experimenting lines. If you want to try to run the Larson line around the top, I hear that that's fast. Is probably what Malechko is telling Shalwin, but he's really starting to close it in a little bit too close, probably for Shalwin's liking.
Shalwin's going to give Malechko the top. Malechko making it work all of a sudden. Does he have time to make the pass, even if he does catch him? Catching's one thing, passing's another.
Indeed it is here. Coming down to the end of it here, does Robert Malechko have anything to answer for Tony Shalwin as he comes flying off at turn number 4? White flag in the air for the leaders.
He's got a big run, Malechko. He's going to look high. Does he fake it and go low? He's just going to go high. He's got to run. He is there.
He's definitely there. He's going to probably have to tuck back in behind on the back straightaway. Doesn't have enough of a chance to make a run. Here he goes. A little bit of slipstream, a fake dive low, and going to try to work it high. Through 3 and 4 they will go. Malechko trying to mount something, but it's not going to be enough. Out of turn 4, it's going to be Tony Shalwin that will see the checker flag first and win at Kentucky.
Crazy finish, kind of out of nowhere. Thought it was over. Malechko made one last push. Ike 3rd, Wood 4th, Chris Cahoe 5th, Oster, Stouffer, Joe Branch, Brian Carey. Carey got 8th from Branch, and David Adams rounds out the top 10. Great finish.
Yeah, how about that? That was a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be at the end, but a fantastic run for Tony Shalwin at the end of that race. Most laps led on top of that. Just really icing on the cake at that point. It really came out of nowhere, was not necessarily looking at him as the race winner for tonight, was running a little bit quiet in the top 5, but showed his muscle at the end of this race, and as we can see him doing the burnouts.
Definitely showed his speed at the end, no doubt. He deserved to win, leading the most laps. It was big on that yellow flag, though. It took one of his competitors in front of him out of the race in the 63 of Alexis Newsome, and then the pit road sequence got him to the lead in front of Andrew Wood and Robert Malechko. That ended up being the deciding factor.
Yeah, we'll take a look at your race results here. Looking at, try to go toggle through the pages. There we go. Tony Shalwin, as mentioned, race winner. Malechko, Ike, your top 3, and Ike continues to a solid run of finishes, but again, just not ahead of the man he's chasing, the 91 of Malechko.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, it's going to be more points lost to that 91 machine. And looking at some of these finishes, a lot of drivers who started at the front stayed at the front for the most part. Jacob Oster, 14th to 6th. Brian Carey, definitely the biggest mover. He went 23rd all the way to the 8th position. Great run for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking back further down the order, Jacob Oster, as you mentioned, great run for him tonight. David Adams getting himself in the top 10. Could definitely use a few good finishes. Some bad luck the double zeros away. Look, they can turn it around here tonight with a decent result. Moving on to the next page of results. Matt Hollaba, we saw, was trying to make that extended strategy work of just running, trying to cut out a pit stop, but those last few cautions pretty much threw that all out the window. Alexis Newsome finishing in 12th, wondering what she could have done to win this race. Had a very solid shot at doing so, but the strategy just did not work out. Antti Musselman Hunter having pretty okay nights. Altina and Diaz with the Hail Mary earlier on the strategy. Didn't quite work their way. They finished pretty much where they were running before that first caution, around 16th and 17th respectively. And then the rest, pretty much all the drivers that had retirements: John Downing, Alexander Ball, we saw on the wall, and Doug South, Marshall Stanley, Aaron Roos, who we saw for that wild spin down the front straightaway. Forsyth and Evan Adams rounding out your field of 25.
A very good run for a lot of those drivers in the top 10. And you're talking about Newsom, what she could have done differently to win this race. It really all came down to the first yellow on lap 15. If she pits with everyone else, she could very well likely win that race. She doesn't have to pit earlier and trap herself with the yellow off of turn number 2. That could have been a difference.
Indeed, as you got some people lining up for the interviews. Try to see if I can pull them on down. We got Robert Malechka here, your second place finish. Robert, you got a copy?
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
Going great. We saw you tried your hardest there. I think you tried a lot more than I thought you had left in the tank. I was thinking it was pretty much going to be Shawn running away with this, but you put a really good charge there at the end. Walk us through that.
Yeah, it starts with getting wood on the pits, or in the pits. They would up to second, and I was actually pretty content with staying behind Tony there. But after 10 laps, Andreas was pushing pretty hard, to get, we're 1-2 in the points. He wants to get by me, and unfortunately, in those moments you have to kind of race them pretty hard, mirror drive them. So Tony was helping me out a ton. If I told him to go high, if I needed the air, stuff like that. So I was pretty content with just kind of sitting behind him. And at the end there, I was pushing pretty good. But yeah, clean air's king, especially once these tires get laps on them.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think at the end, if a caution came out, not sure if you maybe would have wanted to pit, but do you think a reset of the order, do you think that would have helped you out, or would the result been pretty much the same?
To get by Tony, yeah, I mean, a caution would definitely help, just because of it would allow the tire to cool down and get a nice toe into turn 3, which could maybe get side by side. But I ducked low, coming to turn 3 there the last lap. But for me, it's just not worth the risk. Like, I'm perfectly happy with second, and my teammates out front, which is it's great for Tony to get a win, and I had Andreas behind me too, which is even better for points.
Well, Robert, congratulations on your second place finish. Continuing your really solid runs, a solid run of finishes these last couple of weeks of the season. Definitely the championship favorite. Looking forward to see what you can do the next half of the season.
Yeah, thank you guys, and thanks to Adam Blocker and Alex Van de Sant for helping with the setup. Yeah, we were pretty trimmed out there, but it worked out in the end. So thanks, guys.
No problem. Working on, we'll talk to our fourth place finisher, Andrew Wood, who's here to talk with us. Andrew, we saw you were in the midst of that 4-car battle near the end, and pretty much running up near the front all day long. We saw you kind of dodging, weaving with Newsom, Malechka, Ike. Unfortunately, we're just outside of the podium place. Walk us through your race.
Yeah, well, let me start off by saying that this is probably one of my least favorite ovals on the service, so I'm happy with fourth. I mean, happy, but at the same time, when you're leading the race for some of the bit there, it's tough to swallow that, what could have been. But, yeah, the qualifying was really awesome, and dropped back a tiny bit. And, yeah, just trying to hold position. I tried to save some fuel. Wasn't really working out too well, so I had to go back to the fuel mix after I started dropping back a bit. And then I guess my pit stops just weren't enough tonight. I almost blew the box the first time, and then the second time I thought I had a pretty even pit stop to Rob, and he somehow beat me out. So once the two teammates got up ahead of me, I knew I had probably one shot to go for it, and I did, and it didn't work out for me. So once Andreas got next to me, I just said, go ahead, and I sat behind him and tried to wait for some carnage for any potential time to pick up a couple more spots, and it just didn't happen. So we'll take a fourth place out of this track that I'm not really a fan of.
I was going to say, to finish fourth at a track you don't particularly like is definitely usually a good thing. I can think of tracks like New Hampshire and actually I don't want to say Dover that I dislike, but definitely New Hampshire. Come out of that, I'm like, yeah, I'm satisfied with the top 5. But
right, just as long as you complete the race. And I actually did have one wall tap that kind of scared me in some dirty air that I thought was game over for me, but it didn't really hurt the car at all. So it didn't crunch as much as I thought it crunched.
I've definitely had a few of those. Looking back at the race, do you think if it went if it went green, you might have had a better shot at potentially getting the win, or do you think the cautions might have helped you out more?
I think I was sitting pretty solid for a shot at the win without that third caution, because I was about 4 or 5 laps away from coming in, and I think that would have, been the domino that called everyone else in right after me. So I think in that part of the race, I was probably looking the strongest. But yeah, I didn't really maximize my yellow flag pit stop there that I should have. But you know, that's racing, so it's all good.
It definitely is, and we got plenty of it left in the season. Andrew, looking forward to seeing what you can do the rest of the season up ahead.
Yeah, we got some good races coming up that I'm ready for, and we'll see how it goes.
All right, thanks for talking with us.
Yep, and thank you guys for broadcasting as always, and thanks to all the competitors that showed up on a awkward Tuesday night from our usual Sunday night. It was a good race.
All right, and with that, let's talk to your race winner, Tony Schau. And Tony, that was a fantastic run that you had. Might have not made the race-winning pass out on the racetrack itself. It was happening down in pit lane, but definitely, I don't think anyone could argue that you didn't earn it. You were driving like crazy out there, just trying to keep all four of those hungry drivers, Malechka, Ike, and Wood, at bay.
Yeah, it was. There was not very much margin for anything, and it doesn't surprise me that just, passing in pit lane for the win got it to me, because otherwise it was so difficult to pass. Up on the track under green.
Yeah, we definitely saw that out there. How is it? We saw that you were working with Malechka. I'm seeing it as your teammate, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I've got to remember that correctly. So we saw that you're working with him. Do you think having him as a little bit of a rear gunner, I know that he was obviously trying to pass you at the end there, but do you think having him as a bit of a rear gunner, do you think that would have helped since you had just a bold strike from Ike in behind, or do you think it would have not mattered either way with how bad the dirty air was?
Yeah, we worked together there at the end. Whenever he had a run on, or third or fourth had a run on him, we were talking with each other and making sure we both stayed up front. But yeah, it definitely helped to get the win. And if he was in front of me, I would have done the same thing for him.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you're glad with definitely one win, but looking at the rest of the season, only got 6 more races left to go. Any place you have your eye on for win number 2?
Indy. One word, Indy.
I guess everyone's going to want to win an Indy 200 laps later on your season finale. Well, Tony, it's going to be in a few months' time. Hope to see you, maybe talking back to you at Victory Lane there.
Thank you much. Thanks, guys.
All right, with that, it's going to wrap up our interviews for tonight, Connor. I got to say, as the drivers mentioned, passing was difficult, but definitely was exciting to watch.
Yeah, it was very fun watching all these drivers try. It seemed like 4 to 5 lanes were tried tonight, trying to make passes. Proved very difficult, spread out very early. We saw a lot of comers and goers. We saw a lot of different leaders at the front. Andrew Wood, Malechka himself, Andreas Ike was battling up there. I don't think he ever led. Tony Schau at the end, obviously. Tough break for Alexis Newsom, who looked to have the winning car potentially. Came down to a yellow flag at the end of the day, altered the race entirely, and Tony Schau was able to take advantage.
Indeed, it was some exciting racing that occurred here at Kentucky, and there's definitely more to come. As you mentioned, next week is going to be the Indy Elite Fest at the Milwaukee Mile on February 22nd. So definitely looking forward to that race coming up on the schedule. On SimTV in general, we got the second round of the Outsiders Racing League at Homestead for some Xfinity NASCAR V-Car action at Homestead. Definitely a fantastic facility to show those cars off at. So looking forward to that race. And also trying to think, and actually tomorrow night, got Washington Region SCCA. They're going to be at Oran Park. Going to be some scrappy action. It's such a tight little racetrack. In the DC region, Drivers Club Road Atlanta. They're not going to be racing at Road Atlanta. They're going to be racing at Barber in GT4 Machinery. But for now, my name is Trini Kioni here with Connor Horn tonight. SimTV signing out. Thank you for watching.